Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And we're going to kick off the week with a big PlayStation 5 game leak. Apparently a major Square Enix leak is circulating behind the scenes right now as we speak. Multiple insiders and journalists have started to talk about this big leak, which reportedly is one of the most comprehensive big event leaks that we've seen in years. I mean, we're talking about information, assets, and footage leaking behind the scenes. Well, not all of that has made its way to the public quite yet, though I wouldn't be surprised if more comes out, possibly even during this recording, but one game did, and it's a big PlayStation 5 exclusive. So we're definitely going to be talking about that today. Now, we also have a pretty cool Xbox thing happening. Yeah, so they're now one step closer to having an official Xbox handheld console. This is pretty cool, so we'll talk about that as well. Let's start today, though, with Konami. So Konami has been in the news quite a bit in recent months, mostly with rumors for a new Metal Gear Solid or a Silent Hill game. Multiple insiders have mentioned that Konami might be outsourcing these games to different developers. PlayStation appears to be a likely destination for Silent Hill, while Metal Gear Solid could be a future Xbox title according to insiders, but those are all just rumors for the time being. We of course have to take those with a grain of salt. However, Konami is collaborating on bringing back one of their older IP, Getsu Fumiden. It looks pretty good from what we've seen so far, and this is where things get really interesting. Getsu Fumiden is being outsourced by Guru Guru, and the Konami producer was asked in an interview with JP Games on if they were planning to outsource more of their old IP like this in the future. And let's check out the response. In terms of other collaborations, please wait for future projects like this. Yeah, it definitely sounds like Konami will look to outsource more of their games, which kind of makes those previous Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill rumors a little bit more realistic. Now, I'm not saying that this confirms anything or anything like that, because, well, it doesn't. But at the same time, it is a possibility that yes, Konami could in fact outsource some of their IP like Silent Hill, Metal Gear Solid, or even Castlevania. These are well-established franchises that would surely get a lot of attention from fans, and of course, big publishers realize this. So could I see Microsoft or Sony knocking on Konami's door to see if they could do a collaboration on a franchise like those? Yeah, of course I could. Will it happen? Maybe, maybe not. But both PlayStation and Xbox seem to be going all in this generation with big-name franchises, so I'm not going to rule it out either. They both seem to be spending a lot of money, so who knows? Konami has also teased that they have some key projects in deep development that will get updates in the coming months. Now, those Silent Hill rumors have been out there for quite a long time, so I'm kind of wondering if that's one of those key projects. But one way or the other, Konami seems to be coming back to console gaming in some shape or form, and I'm going to view that as an overall positive. Next up, we're actually going to be talking about Netflix because they're reportedly looking into the idea of expanding into video games. So this is according to a report by The Information, which notes that Netflix has begun recruitment for an executive to lead future game initiatives, and this could include a similar service as Apple Arcade. Netflix later made a statement to GameSpot which seems to confirm this could be happening. They did go on to say that they are continually expanding Netflix and that they're excited to do more interactive entertainment. Now, based off how they're explaining this will be an expansion on Netflix rather than a completely new service, which I think is a good thing. Subscription services are increasingly getting more competitive with the introduction of services such as HBO Max and Disney+, so they're always going to look into ways they can retain subscribers. And well, gaming is just absolutely huge, so it's not really a surprise that Netflix would look into that. And well, they've already licensed out IP in the past. They did do that Stranger Things game as an example, and maybe they could do more like that with their IP. Netflix has a lot of original content that I'm sure that they could make some games from. The question for me, though, is can they make enticing games? It's not really good enough to just make games. You have to make good games, and that is the most important thing here. Can they actually do that? I mean, if you start to look into things, there are several of these big companies that have tried to push into gaming in recent years with these subscriptions. You have Google Stadia, which so far has been a failure. Then you have Amazon, and they still have a lot to prove. Apple does Apple Arcade, and now you have Netflix looking into that. I wouldn't really say any of these have been a resounding success, so I understand if gamers are skeptical about Netflix gaming. Really, I think out of all of the non-gaming companies, Disney has done it the best. They're just simply licensing out their IP to premier AAA studios, and as a hardcore gamer, I'm definitely going to prefer that. Spider-Man with Insomniac Games, Indiana Jones with Bethesda, The Avengers and Crystal Dynamics, and Star Wars with Respawn Entertainment. I like that approach a lot more than these small subscription services, but we'll see what happens with this. Maybe Netflix will surprise us. I mean, they do partner up with a lot of different gaming companies, such as Castlevania and Konami. Could they possibly do something with the Castlevania franchise? I'm not really so sure about that, but again, we'll see what happens with this. Moving on, fans of Dragon Quest might want to tune in to that Dragon Quest 35th anniversary event that takes place on May 26. Now, we did talk about this a week or so ago on the channel, and this event has already been building up some hype because, for the first time ever, a Dragon Quest event will include English interpretation. From that alone, there's been a lot of speculation that some major games will be announced here, including Dragon Quest XII. I mean, why for the first time ever include English in an event like this if you don't have something big planned? Well, from the sounds of it, something significant will happen at this event after all, as now the series creator Yuji Horii is kind of feeding into that narrative. He took to Twitter to further hype up this event by saying lots of things will be announced here, and of course, quote-unquote, that game too. Of course, that will immediately draw attention, as speculation points to a Dragon Quest XII announcement. He does, after all, seem to be teasing that in this tweet, and this is exciting. Dragon Quest XI was both well received, and it also sold a lot of copies. It went on to sell 6 million plus units and helped grow the franchise outside of Japan. I mean, the Dragon Quest franchise is huge in Japan, but Dragon Quest XI did seem to do good worldwide. So that's probably one reason that they decided to include an English interpretation at this event, and now that Yuji Horii is teasing some exciting announcements here, it might be worth watching. We could end up seeing some noteworthy spin-offs in our first glimpse of Dragon Quest XII. Now, don't go in expecting it to release this year or anything like that, but seeing it for the first time is still exciting nonetheless. Of course, if you do miss this event though, I will update you on what happened after this event. Let's talk about that Square Enix leak though. There is a massive leak reportedly making its way behind the scenes regarding Square Enix and their big event coming in June. So far, not a lot of information has made its way to the public, though it really is only a matter of time. We could end up getting a lot of details in the coming days, but one of those games did in fact leak online, and that's the new Final Fantasy PS5 console exclusive. A PC release is planned later on. We talked a little bit about this last Friday because an insider was already saying this was a thing, but now we got some real details as to what this game is. So this is being reported by Imran Khan over on Fanbyte, and says that the logo for Final Fantasy Origins was a part of that big leak. And this game sounds highly interesting, so let's check it out. According to his sources, this game is being developed by Team Ninja, which has worked on Ninja Gaiden, Nioh, and Final Fantasy Dissidia NT. So right away, this is a very talented studio, and they have in fact worked on a Final Fantasy game in the past, being Dissidia. Interestingly enough though, it's claimed that Origins will play more similar to something like Nioh, which is a Dark Souls-like game. I'd kind of explain Nioh as being a mix between Dark Souls and Ninja Gaiden, which works extremely well. Those games honestly do deserve way more attention than what they get. If you haven't tried those, please go check those games out. Nioh is not just a Dark Souls clone. These are legitimately great games. So yeah, when you take that Nioh formula and include Final Fantasy, yeah, that actually sounds pretty awesome. And speaking of the setting, Origins is supposedly linked to the first Final Fantasy game. We'll have to see exactly how, but on paper, I think all of this sounds just absolutely fantastic. Team Ninja is a very talented studio as shown with the Nioh franchise, and Final Fantasy is one of the most popular gaming franchises ever. I'm personally a big Final Fantasy fan myself, so I'm all up for this. Now, typically Soulsborne-like games are difficult, but right now it is being said that Final Fantasy Origins will be more accessible. So we'll likely see some difficulty settings with this game, and they're also looking to release an alpha demo this summer. Again, it is being reported that Final Fantasy Origins will be a PlayStation 5 console exclusive with a PC release later on. PlayStation is absolutely trying to make PlayStation the home for Final Fantasy games. If this all turns out to be true, which I have no reason to believe otherwise, that means they got Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy 16, and now Origins as some kind of PlayStation exclusive, whether timed or not. I know not everybody will like that, and I completely understand, but they do seem committed in making Final Fantasy a PlayStation-recognized franchise. When you see a Final Fantasy game, they want you to see that as a PlayStation game. Let me know what you think about all this though. Is it exciting to you or not? Do you like the sounds of a Final Fantasy game similar to something like, let's say, Dark Souls? Let me know in the comments below. Now, we also got something interesting happening over at Xbox. There's always been that dream of an official Xbox handheld console, and really now more than ever, that seems possible thanks to the inclusion of xCloud. Microsoft could easily make a dedicated handheld console that prioritizes Xbox game streaming. I personally think that would be pretty cool. Sure, I would prefer playing local games over streaming, but that's easier said than done. Well, Microsoft does have their Surface products, which includes the dual-screen Surface Duo. This thing is pretty cool at first glance, and it offers a lot of opportunity to do some interesting things with. Well, Xbox in fact did do something interesting as they essentially turned the Duo into an Xbox handheld. Yeah, so the second screen will now officially work as a touchscreen controller. Now, if you haven't been paying attention here recently, Xbox has been regularly adding touch support to Xbox Game Pass games, and that's where the Surface Duo comes in. This is a great option to play Xbox Game Pass games that has touchscreen enabled. The layout is also really cool. It seems like each game can be customized differently, and instead of showing something like, let's say, the ABXY buttons, the virtual buttons will instead show what the button does. So in Minecraft Dungeons, as an example, the sword button will literally show up as a sword on your virtual controls. Now, I will say, I still think Xbox needs to make a device like this with physical buttons. Now, yes, they do have several third-party controllers for phones, but I think with their push into game streaming, it's the perfect time to make a dedicated handheld for Xbox games. But at the same time, I think with the Duo, it would be the best way to play Xbox games with touch support. Myself, I personally cannot stand overlaid buttons on my screen while playing games, and this also allows everything to be well spaced apart. Regardless, I think this is a pretty cool inclusion, and we're one step closer to that Xbox handheld we've wanted for so long. Let's talk about the poll of the day though. Biomutant will be out tomorrow. Biomutant is a game that fans have really waited for years now. They first revealed Biomutant way back in 2017, and it's been clear from day one that this is an ambitious game. It's a big open-world action RPG with striking artistic visuals developed by a smaller studio. And there has been a lot of interest in this game, from myself included. When you see the trailers, it does look good, and after years of waiting, it will officially be out tomorrow on May 25th. So I asked you all if you were going to buy it, and most of you did say no. Ironically, reviews started to come out today, and reviewers are not loving Biomutant. I kind of wonder if that played a part in this poll. Now, reviews are not necessarily the be-all, end-all, and I'm sure a lot of fans will find enjoyment with this game, but for those who are interested in reviews, Biomutant sits at a 68 overall score on Metacritic. That's not exactly ideal per se, and you're probably wondering what happened here. So from what I've seen, it does sound like that Biomutant does a lot of things right. Its world was consistently praised, and the RPG mechanics can be interesting, but it's weighed down by repetitive quests, average combat, and a forgettable story. A lot of critics unfortunately do seem to echo those same key points, but again, if you don't care about reviews and you still want to jump into Biomutant, you can try it out for yourself tomorrow. It, however, does sound like most of you will be skipping out on Biomutant though. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.